If you've been alive for the past, 20 minutes, you're probably aware there are a lot of crimes you can get convicted for and still avoid a custodial sentence under the right circumstances. Most of these crimes could be considered relatively harmless. Then there are others that are so heinous that the general public would really prefer they not have to share the streets with these offenders. But it was their first conviction, or they had a rough childhood, or their dog just died, or the prison was full, and now you're sitting on the bus with Molestro the Malignant. One conviction you generally won't be walking away from though is robbing a bank, because that's where all the money is, and as we all know, money is the most important thing to exist in the entire universe. Criminal law has a concept of justifiable homicide, but no such recognition for a justifiable bank robbery. So, if you rob a bank, you're probably going to be seeing some time inside. This was not the case for Lawrence John Ripple, who purposely tried to get himself imprisoned for robbing a bank, but instead ended up with a punishment that was both ironic and hilarious. On the 2nd of September 2016 in Kansas City, USA, 70-year-old Lawrence John Ripple had an argument with his wife. During the course of this argument, Ripple apparently reached his limit. He took out a pen and paper and wrote a note in front of his wife and then walked out. Shortly after, he was seen walking into the Bank of Labour, where he handed the bank teller the note he had written. It said, "I have a gun, give me money." The terrified bank teller handed him nearly $3,000. Jesus, is it really that easy? Well, not quite, because the Bank of Labour is just down the street from the police station, so lawless Lawrence would probably want to get a move on and get out of Dodge quick. I'd imagine that's easier to say than do at 70 years of age, and Ripple instead sat down in the bank's lobby until police arrived. When he was arrested, police found that he did in fact not possess a gun, and was only found to be carrying a nail clippers and a hairbrush, which shows commendable commitment to upholding a high standard of personal grooming amidst the urgency of a bank robbery. At trial, he produced a rather interesting defence. It was widely reported that Ripple had robbed the bank simply to get away from his wife, seeing as he had left for the bank after telling her, "I'd rather be in jail than at home." In reality, his circumstances were a little bit more complicated than this, or at least according to his defence. Lawrence John Ripple had no prior criminal convictions in his 7 decades of life. The year before, Ripple had had multiple bypass heart surgery and said that he had not felt like his old self since the surgery and had fallen into depression and struggles with his mental health. The fight with his wife was just the straw that broke the camel's back and convinced him to make a spur-of-the-moment decision to try and leave his unhappy life. This was obviously not a well-thought-out decision, because I can't imagine your quality of life improves much in prison. It was more of a spontaneous cry for help. That, of course, didn't change the fact he robbed a bank, a fact he did not deny. Ripple pleaded guilty and expressed remorse for frightening the bank teller on the day of the robbery. He was facing up to 37 months in prison, and even though it's incredibly rare that a conviction for bank robbery results in anything but prison time, his defence asked for leniency and for the judge to consider Ripple's circumstances. The fact that he had never committed a crime before and was unlikely to reoffend, the fact he didn't actually try to make off with the money, and the fact that since the robbery he had been going to counselling with his wife and taking medication that made him feel like his old self again. I'll let you decide if the judge was sympathetic to this or not based on what he did next. The judge sentenced the man who said, "I'd rather be in jail than at home," to 6 months house arrest. So the punishment for Ripple robbing a bank to get away from his wife was essentially a court mandate ordering him to spend more time with her. Well, I haven't seen the name Lawrence John Ripple appear in any mass shooting reports, so I guess it all worked out for him in the end. Either his life is much better now, or any remaining resistance has been grinded from his spirit. Whatever soul was left has been erased, and only an emotionless husk remains, resigned to a life of quiet misery where any desire to escape or change has long since been extinguished. The curious mind of the animal has given up on the organic machine that houses it, abandoning it on its long march to death, unquestioning, unthinking, unfeeling. Obviously, I hope it's the former. Anyways, if you liked this video, I have a bunch more for you to watch as well, and you can subscribe to see the new ones I make in the future. Until next time, stay safe.